Hey everyone, it's Peter Cook from Daydream Nation. We're going to talk about reunions. There was big news last week where Rush had announced that they would do a tour in 2026 with a new drummer, Anika Niles. And I've got my good friend Bicyclelegs from Brizzy, Queensland, Australia. How are you going?
Yeah. Well, it's nice and hot, but yeah.
Absolutely good to see you. And got back to the channel after a long sabbatical. Rob Buchta, how are you?
Very
From
well. Thank you for having me
RushFans.
on.
Absolutely. So I'll throw it to you, Bicyclelegs. Tell us what your views of Rush with the new drummer Anika Niles. Did you receive this announcement in a positive light or mixed emotions?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a bit different for me than you guys, I suppose, because as you would know, I'm a relatively new Rush fan. I've really only gotten into them in the last couple of years when I did my whole Bicyclelegs Discovers Rush series, which you guys were both on. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd never had, when I started that show, Rush had been inactive for, well, nearly a decade. So, and their last album was 2012. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's interesting for me. I mean, I got the feeling that they'd always kind of said, "Oh, there's no Rush without Neil Peart" and all that sort of thing, which, you know, I think that's the attitude of a lot of Rush fans. And I can understand why Geddy and Alex felt that way, at least for a while. But then Geddy and Alex are like, you know, they're not just bandmates, they're best friends. And, they would see each other all the time. They would get into Geddy's uh, basement and they would jam and play all the old Rush songs and all that sort of thing. So I can understand why the itch may have returned, as it were. Um, and I understand why they're doing their tour the way they are too. Like, there's only seven destinations. It's very limited in scope in that respect, and that makes sense. And I don't know much about Annika. I'd really not heard of her until the announcement. The only thing I can think of is Geddy and Alex wouldn't have chosen her if she wasn't up to the task. I mean, it's as simple as that. They don't want to tarnish their own reputations apart from anything else. So, look, I think it has the ability to be a good thing. The big concern for me is Getty's voice, because I know that a lot of people thought on the R40 tour, that his voice wasn't quite what it should be, especially for some of those older songs and that sort of thing. But I also know that that can be rectified, because I remember when Roger Waters announced that he was going to tour the wall. And I thought, that's wonderful. I want to see that show. But I also remembered that the last album he'd put out was Amused to Death, and his voice sounded shot on that album. It really didn't sound good at all. So I was very dubious as to whether he could pull off, doing the whole of the wall live. But then I saw clips, and he'd had a lot of vocal coaching before he did that tour. And man, had his voice improved as a result. And I went and I saw the show and it was brilliant. So hopefully Geddy's done something like that for his voice for this tour. But all in all, I think it should be a good thing.
Well, you would think that with how the tour's placed and the dates, it would allow time for Geddy to rest his voice and for the band
Hmm.
to get the necessary rest. But I'll throw it down to Rob. What are your feelings on this announcement?
It's funny. When it first came in, I think a lot of people thought it was like an AI thing. We were talking about AI a moment ago before we started, and this can't be real. This isn't a real thing. And it took a minute to see that this was Geddy and Alex announcing this in their basically in Geddy's basement, where they go and they jam songs together. So, and then the day before that, they were at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, which is where I'm at. They went and they did a Q&A session basically and announced that they would be touring again. And people started clapping. He's like, all right, we're convinced we're going to do it. So it's kind of a stealthy announcement before they did it the next day. I think a lot of people got the news on the Monday this past week that they were in fact going to go on tour. So I think for myself, I wasn't as enthusiastic initially. I mean, some people just, I guess you go two ways. You can be very enthusiastic and just completely like mind blown, excited that this is happening. And then you have the other side. So I don't think there's too much gray area. I mean, although I feel a little bit mixed about it because, you know, of the Neil component. Annika is a monster. She's incredible. And it was Getty's bass tech that mentioned her because she was playing in Jeff Beck's tour back in 2022. And I saw clips of her playing. I knew some about what her playing was and how she performs and her groove, her sense of timing, the mixed meter handling that she does. Her age, she's relatively young, 41 years of age. But she's a killer player and she's also a writer as well. She composes. So I think that was a few of the things that I think really kind of got Getty's attention in terms of contributing not only to performance, but possibly, depending how it goes, maybe some writing may take place with her influence musically because she does compose music. Of course, Neil's handling the lyrics, for the guys. So I think that part of her addition to the band is great. So I think the way they were talking her up was really encouraging. And also the idea that they're going to pay tribute to Neil at least a few times during the shows. So they want to basically pay homage to their lost brother. And then they got the blessings from Carrie and Olivia, his wife and daughter, that we give you our blessing, you can move forward with this. And the same goes with the Peart family. They gave, all nods like, you can move forward with this. So then, of course, with that, you have all the negative comments. Oh, this is a cash grab and all this kind of thing. Like, well, why would they wait 11 years for a cash grab? So whatever. So it gets to the point where a lot of the Rush fans, not us particularly, but just in general, the community of Rush fans that do like, group posts and stuff like that, had to stop posting things and kind of put a pause because the commentary coming in wasn't overwhelmingly negative, but it was there nonetheless. And the people who enjoy this news, I didn't want to contribute to that myself because I basically mentioned that I was not as enthusiastic about it. So I think just because certain fans and most Rush fans feel very strongly about the band. So because of that the core unit of the guys, even though it's like a version 2.0 because John Rutsey was the original drummer, Getty was in and out in the beginning. So there's a bit of that. So long story long, I've kind of come around a little bit because I appreciate what the guys say about the band itself and what they want to do. They want to pay homage to their life together in music, to Neil, and just the idea, even like Paul McCartney was talking to Getty about this. You guys should go out and tour. You shouldn't stay, you should go and do it, while you still can do it, go out and do it. And I think even, the idea that Getty might be getting vocal coaching, I'm sure is a component in there of that for sure. And he's always mindful of his diet and things like that. So it just goes on and on. So I think it's fantastic for people, try to summing up here. It's fantastic for people who haven't seen them perform before. So tickets go on sale Monday for the artist pre-sale. They just had the other pre-sale for Citi card holders, Citibank. So Monday is the artist pre-sale, which I signed up for because I don't have a Citi card. So if I get tickets for the shows, there's two of them because they actually added more dates. So there's two in Cleveland. There's 4 in New York City. I think there's 2 in Toronto. I'm not sure about Mexico City. There's 2, or actually it might be 4 in LA, which is where the whole thing started in terms of this particular tour coming up, which is where they ended on R40. So there's a whole complete circle of things happening with the band. I think it's a timely thing to have happened that they're actually getting together and touring. Again, like I said, great for people who have never seen them before. So if I get a ticket, cool. If I don't, that's cool too. I'm happy either way, I can wait for the CD and DVD if I can't make the shows. So, but I'm excited for people who haven't seen them, the 19-year-olds, the 20-year-olds, younger than that, a little older than that. So I'm excited for them more so than myself being excited about the news. But I think it's great. I think, they've been hinting at this for a while without, specific, like, Well, you never know. They're very wishy-washy about it. And I think, they didn't really know themselves, I think, because, Alex was doing Envy of None, Getty's writing books. So yeah, they both have projects they were busy with through time. So I think it's been like the past year where they've been getting together more regularly and jamming songs and having just a blast. So I think for them, they deserve this. I mean, it's their band. They can do whatever they want. So whatever I feel about it or anyone else naysaying it, I think it's they can go any direction they want. That's their baby, They can do what the hell they want. Doesn't matter what I say about it or anyone else. I think it's like if they want to go do that and the fans are on board and they are, the demand is very high. On with the show.
Absolutely. Nicely said, Rob. Look, to all the naysayers, take a chill pill, lie down, relax. It's going to be fine. She is a monster drummer, Anika Niles. I've been watching her drumming clips during the week, and she can do anything. She can do, has a groove and swing like she's playing the drums for Toto or Steely Dan, and then she'll do something polyrhythmic, which I think pricked up the ears of Getty. And to those folks that don't know what that is, that's the layering of different drum beat patterns, playing groups of 3 notes against 2. She can do that with aplomb. She is a monster drummer, and she is actually playing Australia, Bicyclelegs, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. I'm going to try to see one of those gigs. It's kind of like a club gig, worth seeing. But she's sensational. And somebody like Jeff Beck would not have a dummy drummer behind him. So she'll be perfect for the band. So I think it's a new chapter. And let's face it, there's been so many bands where they've lost a band member and they've recorded a new album or they've done another tour with a new band member. Life goes on. I think we've got to put our hands together that Getty and Alex are musically curious to continue this journey and play their music. The fire burns within, so keep it going. But look, if they were going to go down the path, and this is playing chess a couple of steps ahead, if they were going to get to the point of recording new material, Rob and Bicyclelegs, that's where the question would be, because Neil is such a great lyricist. That's a big loss.
Yeah.
Where would that come from?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Doing my Bicyclelegs Discovers Rush series, I got to appreciate Neil as a lyricist, obviously. But I also did shows on Getty and Alex's solo albums. And in particular, Getty's solo album, My Favorite Headache. He wrote all the lyrics for that album, and he co-wrote the music. But he wrote all the lyrics for that album, and while they're not as astounding as Neil's lyrics, they're very good lyrics. They're not shabby lyrics at all. So I think if they wanted to do another album, I think Getty would be up to the job of writing the lyrics if he wanted to. Yeah.
Look, that's a couple of steps ahead. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. I think it's just great that they're doing a concert tour. Rob, as Australian fans, we feel a little bit left out, and I'm going to be totally selfish here. My mixed emotions were, will they come to Australia? And let's face it, if they were going to come to Australia, which would be a miracle of God, it would be basically a 5,000-seater. Because we feel like they're our very special cult band down under. They wouldn't be paying the stadium. So it'd have to have a promoter, I don't know, have to offer tons of money, probably would be in the red. So it's not very likely. The best bet would be, if they, for us or for me, if they played a residency in Vegas, in the Sphere, which is an amazing venue, Rob. The Sphere, and that would just really embrace the visual side of Rush. Because I'm actually surprised that wasn't really part of the tour. But don't be surprised, maybe down the track, if this first run is successful, which I think it'll sell out in 72 hours or less, that they may consider doing a residency somewhere in Vegas, that would be the possibility for someone like me to go across economically and see Rush in that sort of world. But my mixed emotions more of a selfish thing, isn't it? Bicyclelegs, that would love to see them down under, but it will never happen.
Well, as I said to you two guys on Facebook, I think there is a better chance of me being kicked to death by a duck than there is of Rush touring Australia. But yeah, I mean, it would be brilliant, wouldn't it? I mean, look, obviously this is going to be a huge tour. They almost doubled the number of dates that they're going to play before a ticket went on sale. So they'd already obviously realized that the demand was going to be massive based on the reaction from the fans and all that sort of thing. So look, you never know. Will they, the interesting thing though is that they added more dates, but no more cities. Like, it's the same 7 cities they're playing, but they've just added extra shows to, I think, all of the cities except Mexico City. So
yeah. And you'd have to think that they will put a date in the UK, because the UK has a very strong following of Rush. I mean, they had a couple of top 10 hits. You would think that they would try to do the O2 or something, Rob, wouldn't you? That would be possibly the gateway for Europe. So maybe if they were going to go overseas, London, maybe 2 dates in the O2, and anyone in Europe can just jet over to London and see them there.
Or even you guys, if that was something you could swing to go there, it's a little closer to you guys than we are, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, there's a lot of negative media, a lot of social commentary about the ticket prices. The band don't set that. It's actually the agencies. It's Live Nation, isn't it? So that's true, isn't it, Rob? It's got nothing to do with the band. They don't set it.
Yeah, Ticketmaster is a bit of a conglomerate, and it's really tough to I guess deal with them if you're a band, because they have a hold on certain venues. So if you want to play there, you have to adopt to their policy and how they do business, as Ticketmaster. So it's a bit of a monopoly. I think that's kind of, it cheats a lot of people out of tickets because of the cost.
Absolutely. Is there a price that you would just say, oh, sorry, I just can't do that? Have you set yourself, without sharing with the audience, but have you got a buffer in your head that, look, I wouldn't go, I just can't go over that? That's just beyond the pale?
Yeah, I think when you're getting close to like the $1,000 mark per ticket, that's where I kind of like, if someone really wants to go and dive in there, I'll let them go forward. That's where my cutoff is. I have a credit card with their name on it. So if I get the 3 different sections I'm looking at on ticket day, because you want to have a few different sections mapped out, because they go super quick. You wait in your sort of queue, they queue you in, and you go through the different choices that are available, but they go super fast. So you have to be quick on that. So if I get a hold of those things, great. I always maintain that if I can square tickets away and I have that budget met, that I'll go over that, cool. But if I can't do that, then the next person that wants them, by all means, I'm more than happy either direction. If I get tickets, cool. If I don't, that's fine too. But yeah, I have a price point that I'm set at. I don't want to go any further past it. The VIP tickets are like really, really pricey. I think some start at $2,800 and they go as far as $9,000. So I'm like, nah,
that's ridiculous.
Not doing that.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Skip that whole scene, So
now, can I just say, for people who grumble about, concert ticket prices more generally, I think you have to understand that this is the music business is completely different now from what it was, say, in the 70s and 80s. When ticket prices for concerts were really cheap, because it's really flipped on its head how musicians make money these days. It used to be that musicians made money by selling records, and they went on tour to promote that record to make you go out and buy it. Okay, so they didn't really make any money touring. The touring was to promote the record, and they made their money selling records. Now it's completely the opposite. bands, generally speaking, make next to no money actually making records and selling records or CDs or whatever, unless you're, Taylor Swift or whatever. So the only ways that bands have to make money these days, concert tickets and merch. So bands go on tour to make a living these days. So the prices have to be more expensive. And these days, if they put a record out, it's often put out as an excuse for them to go on tour. So, it's completely flipped from what it used to be.
Yeah, the whole business model has changed. And, I look at with envy at the prices that in the 70s, where you could go to a festival for $12 and see, Deep Purple Free, Humble Pie on a lineup. It's just unbelievable, Yeah. Those days are gone, It's a business. So one thing I want to cover before we move on to the topics of reunions is any expectations for the what the song list would be. I'd just imagine it's a greatest hits. I don't think it'd be a particular theme because a lot of their last couple of tours were very themey. There was one where they just focused very heavily on the 80s, and then there was another one on the Clockwork Angels. Do we just sort of think it's going to be a greatest hits type scenario, Bicyclelegs?
Yeah, I think what they're probably going to do is there's going to be certain songs that they're going to want to tick off. But what I think they will do is they're going to try and cover the whole range of their career. I think they're going to try and do something from almost every album and just have it be a career retrospective, as it were. So that's my thought about. So you'll have, the obvious songs, but you're also going to have some deep cuts and things off albums that maybe people don't play as much and that sort of thing, just as I say, to be a career retrospective.
Yeah. Rob?
Yeah. I agree with that for sure. And it's like with R30, they went from the beginning to the end, or early days to the current. And then with R40, they did the other way, started recent and went backwards. This retrograde type of show, dismantling the stage and all that stuff. So I think maybe it's going to be not as long as it used to be, obviously. So they'll probably play 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. With an
they won't do 3.5.
Yeah, I mean that whole endurance sort of feat they put on is probably not going to be the scene, but I would anticipate a lot of instrumentals. Anything that's like older might be brought down in tuning, very much like 2112. Like if they do Hemispheres, God forbid, it's like there's no way in hell he's gonna be able to sing that in the key that it was written in, which was high to begin with. So if they attempt those types of things, I don't know. I doubt that's going to happen, but they would have to retune everything and drop it down, which I kind of like in some ways because it sounds more modern. But I think, yeah, retrospective, I mean, I'm sure they'll kick it off with Tom Sawyer. There's certain songs you expect them to play. Whether they do those songs or not, it remains to be seen. And also the talk of bringing in a keyboard player may also influence what songs they play, So as Getty and Alex say, we can work on our dance moves because I don't have to go to the keyboard and get into that zone. I can dance more. So
I like that idea.
About that whole thing.
I like that idea of having an extra musician, a keyboard. Yeah, I think that would
will
work.
Influence that'll have an influence on Setlist and choices they decide to play. So I think that's a smart move in a way.
Absolutely. So yeah, look, I think it's guaranteed you'll hear Tom Sawyer, Spirit of Radio, XYZ. There's some rusted on songs that if they didn't play, there'd be a riot in the streets. But anyway, there'll be more unfolding over the next couple of weeks.